The Sydney Opera House is a world-famous performing arts centre located in the city of Sydney, Australia. It is one of the most iconic buildings in the world, and it is widely recognised as an architectural masterpiece. The Sydney Opera House was designed by the Danish architect Jorn Utzon and was completed in 1973. The building is situated on Bennelong Point, overlooking Sydney Harbour, and is surrounded by the beautiful Royal Botanic Garden. The structure is made up of multiple performance venues, including a concert hall, opera theatre, drama theatre, and several smaller spaces for performances and events. The design of the Sydney Opera House is characterized by its distinctive sail-like shapes, which are made up of precast concrete shells. These shells are arranged in a series of interlocking forms, creating a complex geometry that is both visually stunning and highly functional. The roof of the building is covered with over 1 million tiles, which were specially made in Sweden. Inside the Opera House, the main performance space is the concert hall, which can seat up to 2,679 people. It is renowned for its exceptional acoustics, and it is home to the Sydney Symphony Orchestra. The Opera Theatre, which can seat up to 1,547 people, is the main venue for opera and ballet performances. The Drama Theatre is used for plays and smaller performances, and there are also several other smaller spaces for more intimate events. The Sydney Opera House has played host to some of the world's most famous performers and productions, including the Australian Ballet, the Sydney Theatre Company, and the Australian Chamber Orchestra. It has also been the venue for many international events, including the Olympic Games, the World Economic Forum, and the APEC Summit. In recognition of its cultural significance and architectural importance, the Sydney Opera House was listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2007. It is visited by millions of people every year, who come to see performances, take guided tours, or simply admire the building's stunning design and location. The motivation for the construction of the Sydney Opera House was to create a world-class performing arts centre for the city of Sydney and the country of Australia. The idea for the Opera House was first proposed in the 1940s, but it wasn't until the 1950s that the project gained momentum. At the time, Sydney was rapidly growing and modernizing, and there was a desire to create a cultural landmark that would reflect the city's aspirations and ambitions. The idea was to build a venue that would be suitable for opera, theatre, concerts, and other cultural events, and that would rival the great performing arts centres of the world. In 1955, the New South Wales government launched an international design competition for the Opera House. The competition attracted over 200 entries from around the world, and the winning design was submitted by the Danish architect Jorn Utzon. Utzon's design was based on the idea of creating a series of interlocking shells, inspired by the geometry of a peeled orange. The design was both innovative and challenging, and the construction of the Opera House was beset by many technical and financial difficulties. Despite these challenges, the Opera House was eventually completed and opened to the public in 1973, becoming one of the most iconic and beloved buildings in the world. The cost of the construction of the Sydney Opera House was originally estimated to be around $7 million when the project was first proposed in the 1950s. However, due to the complexity and innovation of the design, as well as various technical and financial challenges, the actual cost of the project was much higher. By the time the Opera House was completed in 1973, the final cost of the project was approximately $102 million, which was significantly over budget. The project was funded through a combination of public and private funds, with the majority of the funding coming from the New South Wales government. Despite the high cost of the project, the Sydney Opera House has since become an important cultural landmark and a major tourist attraction for Australia. It is widely considered to be one of the most significant and iconic buildings of the 20th century, and it continues to attract millions of visitors each year. The Sydney Opera House has hosted a wide range of major events since it opened in 1973, including performances by some of the world's most renowned artists and companies. Here are just a few examples of the major events that have taken place at the Opera House: opera and ballet. The Opera House is renowned for its world-class opera and ballet performances. It is the home of Opera Australia, which performs a wide range of operas throughout the year, as well as the Australian Ballet, which presents both classical and contemporary ballet works. Music. the Opera House has also hosted many major musical events, ranging from classical and jazz concerts to rock and pop concerts. Some of the most famous musicians to perform at the Opera House include Elton John, Bob Dylan, Beyoncé, and the Rolling Stones. Theater. The Drama Theater at the Opera House is a popular venue for theater productions, and has hosted many major theater companies and productions over the years, including the Royal Shakespeare Company, the National Theatre of Great Britain, and the Sydney Theatre Company, conferences and summits. The Opera House has also been the venue for many international conferences and summits, including the World Economic Forum, the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, APEC, Summit, and the International Olympic Committee session. Film and television. The Opera House has been featured in many films and television programs over the years, including the Australian film, Strictly Ballroom, and the reality show, Australia's Next Top Model. Overall, the Sydney Opera House has become a cultural hub and a symbol of Australia's artistic and architectural excellence, attracting visitors and performers from around the world.